Welcome to the DSB video channel. This is the first of two videos that discuss the principles that inform the development of the Consumer Data Standards, or CDS. These principles are discussed in the High-Level Standards Principles section of the CDS. The Consumer Data Standards define technical standards, consumer experience standards, and the systems that support them. The principles are classified as outcome principles, technical principles, and consumer experience (CX) principles. This video covers the outcome and technical principles. The second video covers the consumer experience principles. The technical standards are in large part application programming interfaces. Application Programming Interface is abbreviated to API. Application refers to software systems. An interface is an agreement that defines how applications communicate. REST, R-E-S-T, is a software architecture for application communication. In a REST API, an application sends requests to another application which responds with data corresponding to the request. The request and response use agreed protocols and data formats. The following principles, classified as outcome principles, technical principles, and consumer experience (CX) principles, are the basis for the development of the standards for the consumer data right. Outcome principles. These principles articulate qualitative outcomes that the API definitions should seek to deliver. Outcome Principle 1. APIs are secure. The API definitions will consider and incorporate the need for a high degree of security to protect customer data. This includes the risk of technical breach, but also additional concerns of inadvertent data leakage through overly broad data payloads and scopes. The security of customer data is a first-order outcome that the API standards must seek to deliver. Outcome Principle 2. APIs use open standards. In order to promote widespread adoption, open standards that are robust and widely used in the industry will be used wherever possible. Outcome Principle 3. Data sharing provides a positive consumer experience. The standards will ensure that CDR consumers have simple, informed, and trustworthy data sharing experiences that provide them with positive outcomes over the short and long term. Outcome Principle 4. APIs provide a good developer experience. To ensure that the entry hurdle for new developers is low, the experience of the developers that are building clients using the APIs will be considered. The ability for a developer to easily understand and write code using the APIs in modern development environments should be facilitated by the API standards. Outcome Principle 5. Standards are consistent across sectors. The standards will strive for consistency in patterns, structure, security mechanisms, and user experience across sectors to facilitate the development of customer experiences and services that are able to integrate data from multiple sectors seamlessly and to reduce the cost of customer education for new sectors. Technical principles. These principles articulate specific technical outcomes that the API definitions should seek to deliver. Technical Principle 1. APIs are RESTful. The API standards will adhere to RESTful API concepts, where possible and sensible to do so. In particular, the concepts of statelessness and resource orientation will be followed. Technical Principle 2. APIs are implementation agnostic. The underlying implementation of the APIs should not be constrained or driven by the API definitions and standards. Conversely, the underlying implementation choices should not be visible or derivable to the client applications using the APIs. Technical Principle 3. APIs are simple. As complexity will increase implementation costs for both holders and clients, as well as reduce the utility of the APIs, API definitions should seek to be as simple as possible, but no simpler. Technical Principle 4. APIs are rich in capability. As the APIs are defined, care should be taken to ensure that the data payloads defined represent rich data sets that can be used in many scenarios, including scenarios not necessarily front of mind during the design process. Technical Principle 5. APIs are performant. The API definitions should consider and incorporate performance implications during design, ensuring that repeated calls are not necessary for simple use cases and that payload sizes do not introduce performance issues. Technical Principle 6. APIs are consistent. The API definitions across the full suite of APIs should be consistent with each other as much as possible. Where possible, common data structures and patterns should be defined and reused. Technical Principle 7. APIs are version controlled and backwards compatible. As the API definitions evolve, care will be taken to ensure the operation of existing clients are protected when breaking changes occur. Breaking changes will be protected by a well-defined version control model and by a policy of maintaining previous versions for a period of time to allow for backwards compatibility. Technical Principle 8. APIs are extensible. The API definitions and standards should be built for extensibility. This extensibility should accommodate future API categories and industry sectors, but it should also allow for extension by data holders to create unique value-add offerings to the ecosystem. For the CX principles, see video 2 in this series. The consumer data standards are developed openly, in consultation with CDS participants, and in line with the principles published in the CDS. Thank you for participating in the Consumer Data Standards.